Today's show is a fun one. 5 Miami Dolphins cut candidates heading into training camp. Camp officially begins when the veterans report, in my opinion. Rookies have already reported, but those guys aren't getting cut, and they wouldn't be a shocking one. It's only the veterans. And before we do that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We currently have 57,189, and I would like to get a record-setting show for the month of July and pick up, 111 subs and get to 57,300 subscribers. Let's make history, folks. Hit that sub button. And there's no reason not to, because we put out videos every single day, and we'll keep you updated on everything surrounding Dolphins training camp. All right, first cut candidate here is Mike White. We've talked about it quite a bit here, and there just probably is a serious outcome where the Dolphins don't keep 3 quarterbacks on their 53-man roster, and that begs the question, which one gets cut between Mike White and Skylar Thompson? I think it's going to be one of the more fun battles to watch in Dolphins training camp. We've oftentimes talked about the right guard spot, the final wide receiver spot, but the quarterback position battle, at least the backup, is also very fascinating because there are pros and cons to each quarterback staying on the team. Like, Mike White might be a better quarterback, like slightly, but Skylar Thompson has history in this Dolphins organization, and it started a damn playoff game. And if you cut Mike White, it saves you $3.1 million, which at this point, you probably don't need the free agent money. It's not like they're going to go out there and sign someone where that $3 million is very crucial, considering you already have $16 million in cap space. But when you just think of these two quarterbacks that are going to be battling it out, Mike White has been up and down, played for the New York Jets. You have Skylar Thompson, who didn't see any field in 2023, but saw quite a bit in 2022 due to Tua Tagovailoa's injury. I think this is going to be a fascinating battle to watch, and if I had to lean one direction, I'm probably leaning keeping Skylar Thompson. I don't know why. I just think he might be a little bit more fun to watch. He also is much cheaper to have on your roster, which could give you financial flexibility at the trade deadline or during the season. I probably lean keeping Skylar Thompson, which if you're only keeping 2 quarterbacks on this roster, which means Mike White could be cut. But let me know your thoughts on the matter. Pick a quarterback for me. Type MW for Mike White or type ST for Skylar Thompson. Another familiar name here with what we've done in the past, Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff Wilson he's done a lot for Miami. I just don't know why you keep him, if I'm going to be honest. And I've talked about him potentially being a trade candidate for Miami in the past as well, but just think with Jeff Wilson, why are you keeping someone who doesn't provide any special teams value as your 4th running back? You have Raheem Mostert. You have Devon Achane. You have Jalen Wright, who you drafted. Those are your top 3, and even if one of them gets hurt, you're probably just going to go to a 2 RB committee rather than 3. So unless 2 out of the 3 get hurt, there are no need for Jeff Wilson to be kept on this roster. And he saves you $1.5–2 million if you cut him. To me, that makes the most sense. And if you are keeping a 4th running back, I lean to keep the 2nd-year man out of BYU, Chris Brooks, who did a couple nice things in limited snaps at the end of the year due to injuries, having 19 carries for 106 yards, and even broke out a carry for 52 yards. I also think Brooks gives you a little bit more versatility in the special teams department, whether it be on kick returns, punt coverages. There is something there that I think could end up working. And if I had to pick between Jeff Wilson and Chris Brooks as RB4 on this Dolphins team, I'm going to choose Brooks because there's more upside. We know what Jeff Wilson is. He's 28 years old. We don't know what Chris Brooks can bring to the table. He's also much cheaper. I lean bringing Chris Brooks back on this team rather than Jeff Wilson, which is why I think Wilson could be a cut. Durham Smythe, the tight end, is a cut candidate. This is the first real surprising one, in my opinion, that I could see come to fruition for Miami. And I'll openly admit it here. This is a bold call by yours truly. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd probably project against it. But I do think he is someone that is much more closer to the roster bubble than some might actually think. And the reason why I could see Durham Smythe end up getting cut when the roster gets slimmed down to 53 at the end of August is because Jody Fortson Jr., who we've talked about at length this offseason due to his strong performances at OTAs, strong performances at minicamp, if he continues to impress, he puts together 3 good preseason games as well as a good camp, I think you keep him. And then when you think, well, are we keeping 3 tight ends? Probably. Who's the third tight end? Durham Smythe or Julian Hill? Well, maybe you go Julian Hill because he is the better blocking tight end. He's more suited to be a specific blocker in the red zone, and he gives you some nice stuff on punt blocking as well and other areas of the game. Like, I could see him, Durham Smythe, get traded. But the question then would be, well, why wouldn't you trade Durham Smythe rather than cutting him? And that would probably be the case. Like, you'd probably maybe try to flip him for a 6th, 7th round pick halfway through training camp. But there is also the realistic possibility that other teams realize, well, if they're going to cut Durham Smythe, why would we trade him? We'll just take our chances after he gets cut in late August. But there also could be teams saying, well, we don't want to take the risk of another team snatching him up. We'll go trade for him and send a 7th in the middle of August. It's potential. But Smythe, who was the tight end 1 for this team just a year ago, could be on the outside looking in if Jody Fortson Jr. and Julian Hill have strong Augusts. Which brings me to this question. Let me know, will Durham Smythe make this team? Type M for make or type C for cut. Let me know. Channing Tindall makes the Dolphins cut candidates list, and this should come as no surprise because this is his absolutely last chance to make the roster. It is. The former 3rd-round pick in 2022 just has never been able to find a role on this Dolphins team. And with the additions of Jordan Brooks and Anthony Walker Jr., Duke Riley coming back, like, I don't think Channing Tindall is safe whatsoever, and I believe he's on the outside looking in before we get into training camp next week. Like, Duke Riley is productive, man. He had 42 tackles last season. I'm not saying he's a good linebacker, but when you're asking for a linebacker 4, and that's all you're asking for, you're looking for someone who you can rely on in a spot situation if 2 or 1 guy on the top of the depth chart gets banged up. And I would trust Duke Riley to get the job done in spot snaps much more than I would trust Channing Tindall, which is why I probably lean Duke Riley making this roster over Tindall. We've talked about it in the past, but I think Duke Riley ends up making this team as the 4th linebacker rather than Tindall. And unfortunately, it just never worked out for the former Georgia Bulldog picked in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft. One more cut candidate to talk to, which is a little bit of a shocker, but make sure you get this Dolphins t-shirt combo because it is shocking. That is $25 off. Chatsports.com/Dolphins combo is the link. It's going to be in the description and comments of today's video. Medium, large, extra large, and 2Xs are the only ones available. Smalls and 3Xs are already gone. So get yours today. Aqua, got the orange. What else can you ask for? Chatsports.com/Dolphins combo. Final cut candidate that we're going to talk about today, Siran Neal, who signed with the team in free agency coming over from the Buffalo Bills, and he's the only one that I have being cut on this list that wasn't on the team last year. And to me, it comes down to potentially Siran Neal and Ethan Bonner for the final cornerback spot. Now, we do know that Ethan Bonner is not going to be someone that really provides anything on the defensive side. But Bonner provides a lot of good value on special teams, in punt coverages, kick coverages. And with the new rules, it might be more imperative than ever to have good special teams play on the kickoffs. So to me, I think Ethan Bonner is worth keeping on this team. Like, would you rather have a backup nickel in Siran Neal, or would you rather have a valued special teams member? Especially if you're keeping Nick Needham, who we know could be the backup nickel anyway, to Kader Kohu. And you have Cam Smith as that other guy. Like, I am absolutely fine keeping Ethan Bonner over Siran Neal. And I don't know how the Dolphins feel about that, but I think Neal could be a shocking trade, or not trade, but cut candidate if he does not perform well throughout the training camp portion for the Miami Dolphins. Name a cut candidate for me, though. I gave you 5. I want to hear one from you. It could be one of the 5 names we talked about and you're agreeing with me and doubling down, or you can drop a name that we haven't talked about whatsoever. All I ask is that you get in the comment section and create a conversation.